Hello, movie lovers, and welcome to the show. For today's episode, I'm actually going to be doing an Old Guard review. So go on ahead, sit back and relax, and let me go on ahead and talk about this review here. So this movie, The Old Guard, is a Netflix original movie. This movie stars Charlize Theron as Andy. You have Kiki Lane who plays Niall. You also have Mathis Schoenaerts who plays Booker. You have two characters named Nikki and Joe. Then you actually have Chiwetel Ejiofor. I'm sorry if I butchered your name and everything. Sometimes I'm good with names, sometimes I'm not. But this is actually based off an Image comic, and this is actually a really good film and everything. As a matter of fact, I didn't even go into this movie knowing what this movie is about or anything like that, and I didn't even see a trailer for this movie. So going into this thing blinded was actually did me a favor because I wasn't sure how much the actual trailer might have shown. I don't know anything about the plot or anything, so I'm glad I went into this blinded and not knowing what this is even about. And also, too, I just want to say this. This movie is just perfectly well done. The balances between the characters is really good. Okay, so what is this movie about? What is The Old Guard about? The Old Guard is about these group of immortals who are actually on the run from this government agency who wants to do scientific experiments on them. As a matter of fact, Shadi Waddell Ejiofor is actually a guy who plays Copley. Copley is trying to take them in so that way this guy can actually do some type of experiments on them and stuff like that. But anyways, whenever this movie actually opens up, there's in this hideout, this lair that Charlize Theron is in, and her group of men. And at first, you don't know what to expect from this or anything like that. That you know that they're actually afraid of this government agency. You don't know why they're afraid of Copley or anything like that. All we know is that Copley's a bad person and they're out on the run. Well, anyways, there's actually a scene where all of a sudden the whole entire area just goes black. And next thing you know it, they're shooting at the Immortals. They're shooting at Charlize Theron's group of men and everything. And I just want to say this. When you see them being shut down, you're wondering if you didn't go into this movie knowing what this movie was about. You're like, okay, what exactly happened here? What's going on? And all of a sudden, they start healing up like a Wolverine kind of fashion. And that's something that I actually appreciated about this too, is that it took a while for them to actually start healing up a little bit. And once they start healing, that's when they went full throttle and they start killing these soldiers that are actually after them from this government agency. And that is something that I really liked about this film. And then also too, the stunts in this film is really good. It's perfectly executed. And what I'll have to say is this. I don't like action movies, where it's violence for the sake of having violence. I like violence that's actually going to amplify the plot, and this is exactly what it does. It amplifies the plot in a way that it actually needs to be amplified. And also, too, I really have to say that Charlize Theron does a really good job at playing the role of Andy. Andy's actually the character, the leader of this whole entire group of immortals, and she does a really, really good job at trying to keep this crew together. And after they get on the run and everything, and they're falling asleep on this crane to take them somewhere else, she gets a vision. Andy winds up getting a vision, and so does the rest of the crew. And basically, there's this girl out in Afghanistan, this army soldier, who winds up getting her throat sliced in two. And so I like that whole entire thing where they actually see a vision of the immortal, of this other girl who's actually just now realizing that she is an immortal herself. And also, too, as well, this girl is actually scared because she doesn't know what to experience or anything like that, because of the fact that she thinks that maybe she's dreaming or something else happened, maybe she survived something else or whatever, but she's not quite sure of how she survived her throat being sliced in two, especially whenever she was supposed to be dead. And then also, too, the American soldiers, our soldiers, are actually wondering, how did she actually survive something like that? How did she actually survive a knife to the throat when she's supposed to be dead? There's no scar tissue. There's nothing there to actually indicate the fact that she was actually cut. And also, too, everybody's in her division is even looking at her like she's a freak. And I like the whole entire aspect of there's that division now between her peers and everything now. And now she can't really trust anybody. So now Andy's going into Afghanistan to try and get her out. And then, of course, she doesn't. And of course, Niall does not even believe that Andy is immortal or anything like that. She doesn't know who Andy is or anything like that. So she's having a hard time to actually trust her. And I like that whole entire thing where, automatically the character actually trusts the other character. We would actually have something like that if it was like a 1990s movie where there's no persuasion or anything like that. There might be a little bit of fighting between the two of them, the two people, if they actually believe that they're there to protect them, and that would be it. With this, it goes on for at least 5, maybe 10 minutes of the film where Andy's actually has to persuade her, hey, look, you're immortal now. This is who you are. This is what we are. We're in this group. Either you can choose to be in this group or you can choose not to be in this group. And then Niall is also thinking that Andy probably drugged her. And I love the point that Andy actually points out in this. Okay, how do you explain the knife to your throat? I wasn't there when that actually happened. So how do you explain that? Another thing too is I want to get back to the action for 1 second. I forgot to mention the battle axe scene at the very beginning of this film where they're taking down these government soldiers was just fantastic in a John Wick kind of fashion. And not only that, but it wasn't that shaky cam kind of thing where we don't know how these characters are actually getting gunned down or anything like that. I like the fact that it was mainly focused on who they're actually fighting, and we're able to see the whole entire action sequences. So I thought the direction of the camera was really good. I really have to say I was not bored to tears with the action sequences at all or anything like that, because I feel like if the action sequences are drawn out a little too long, I'm looking at U6 Underground. Um, I get fatigued of it to the point where I'm like, okay, I don't care about what happens in this movie or anything like that. But I didn't feel like that at all. And not only that, but I also want to point out this: a long life without people is a lonely one. And I like the fact that they actually go into a little bit more of the origins of each character as the movie plays out, and I really respect that part. So let me go on ahead and talk right now. Let me go on ahead and get back to the point that I was making with Niall and Andy. The chemistry between Niall and Andy is really good. Like I mentioned before, where she's actually trying to persuade Niall to actually go with her. And, like she said, either you can stay with us and I can protect you because you don't know who you are. You don't know what you have to go through. And then also, too, the group of immortals that she's actually with have been around for ages. Imagine actually fighting someone that's only been preparing themselves for 20 years. These people have been training themselves for over 2,000 years. That's just a little bit of an example. But, it actually works. I love this film. I thought it was a great original idea that they actually did from Image Comics to actually think of something like this. And also, too, I want to also talk about the healing factor. The healing factor I mentioned a little bit earlier, but I love the fact that they actually take their time to actually explain the aging of this. Well, not the aging, but the healing factor in itself. Because even Andy said it. As time goes on, you may feel real, you may look the same and everything, and you may feel the same, but the healing factor in itself takes a longer time to actually heal. And there's also a chance that you might actually die after a long period of time and everything too because of your age, because of the fact that you've been doing this for so long. And I like that aspect. And then also, I want to mention this too, that when this guy's stomach gets ripped open and his intestines and everything is outside, you're wondering if this guy is going to heal up or if he's dead. So there's that little bit of suspense. And then, of course, there's a lot of dark humor in this thing if you like that kind of dark humor. So there is humor in this movie in itself. So if you're into that dark humor like I am, you're going to laugh a little bit, especially when Andy slaps the guy upside the face and everything and he wakes up. And she goes, well, it took you long enough, didn't it? So I love that little bit of humor in this movie. It's actually a smart movie in itself. It doesn't treat the audience like they're stupid, which is something that I actually appreciate from this film. And like I mentioned, the healing factor is a big thing in this movie. Then also, too, I like how it's actually painful rather than something going, I'm immortal, I can heal. But it takes a long period of time for them to heal depending on how deep the actual wounds actually are. Then there's actually the bad guy in this film, one that actually wants to test on them. And it's not Copley in or anything like that, but Copley is actually one of those characters that gets involved with this agency thinking that he's trying to do something for the greater good, but finds out later on that there's actually something more crooked than actually meets the eye. But I'm not going to get into that spoiler territory or anything like that. But, there's this guy that's actually really creepy. And as a matter of fact, he's actually played on the Harry Potter series and everything too. And you can definitely tell that this guy is evil. He's bad. He's not for anybody or anything like that other than himself. I have to say, the way that they wrapped it up is not anticlimactic at all. I really thought that they were able to actually bring it out a lot more and everything. In the action sequences, I thought the action sequences were good. Like I said, and then there's also one part in this thing that, even though they're immortal, there's a part where one of the guards winds up shooting one of the immortals in the mouth, and I'm like, is he dead? Because of the fact that I'm not used to seeing someone that isn't immortal being shot on the screen or anything like that to where they're healing up. So I'm actually having that jaw dropping thing. It's like, oh my god, did he die or did he not die? Kind of thing. All of a sudden, that event actually turns it back around, and it's actually really good on how they actually set that part up. And also as well, I mean, when you see her with this when you see Andy with this battle axe and everything too, you're wondering how is she going to take down these guys with the battle axe and everything? And the battle axe is just my favorite part of this whole entire film as well. And if you haven't seen The Old Guard, I strongly recommend that you guys actually check it out. I thought it was a really good movie. The pacing of the film is really good. The humor of it is really good. The chemistry between Nikki and Joe is really good and smart. And matter of fact, the relationship is something that is actually relatable if you actually want to actually see that and everything, because I thought that was actually better suited for those two characters. Not only that, but I also thought the part where the soldiers winds up beating them up is like, okay, that's enough of that, and then hits them um with their rifles. I thought that was actually pretty funny. Like I said, there is some dark humor in this thing that you might actually find humorous, but everybody's humor is different, so it's the most subjective thing that you can actually find. But this movie is really good. The pacing's good. The chemistry between all the actors and actresses is good. Like I said, Shadow Attell, Edgy Ford does a really good job in this film. Charlize Theron does a really good job in this film. Kiki Lane is actually a star that you might actually want to keep an eye on, because I have a feeling that she's going to be even better. And then, of course, I believe that we're actually going to get a second film, especially the way it ended on that cliffhanger. So that's all I have to say about The Old Guard. I hope that you guys actually enjoyed this review for The Old Guard, because I really enjoyed this film. As a matter of fact, I'm going to be binge watching the first 2 seasons of The Umbrella Company and actually do a review on that sometime in the future. But check out The Old Guard if you haven't. Another thing, too, is if you guys want to donate me a cup of coffee, go to buymeacoffee.com/movieloversunite, and you guys can actually donate some money over there. And it's just something that you guys can actually keep the lights on and do what I do, actually upgrade to better technology than what I have right now. As well, it actually helps out with the show. And also, too, I want to do some movie digital giveaways as well for everybody. So if you want some digital codes and everything, go on ahead, donate me $5, maybe $10 if you want to. You don't have to, but it's appreciated. And of course, and always, until next time, bye bye.